Dear third year students, Assalamu alaikum. I would like to express my best wishes for you in this new year and in studying translation into English especially. So our first lecture is going to be an introduction of the topic. We are going to start by expressing or exhibiting the goals of this lecture. So by the end of this lecture you will be able to define translation. Of course you know that there are many definitions of translations that are given by many scholars of translation, but I'm going to show you some of these definitions. Also, you will be able to know what is meant by the denotative meaning of a word, identify some problems with dictionary meaning, and finally learn about or learn that full synonymy is exceptional. Uh, this means that أو يعني أن الترادف التام هو شيء استثنائي في اللغة. To the first topic, which is definitions of translation. There are many definitions of translation that are given by uh, translation scholars. These are revolving about or around the meaning and the different notions of equivalence. Michael Halliday described translation as the establishment of textual equivalence rather than uh, rather than the lexical or grammatical equivalence. So he sees that equivalence cannot be achieved on the word level or the sentence level or even the grammatical level. For him it can be achieved only on the textual level. Thus, as stated by Halliday et al., translation is not a mere word-for-word rendition, but rather translation is seen as a whole text-to-text transplanting. J. C. Catford, in his foundational book, A Linguistic Theory of Translation, which is published in 1965, defines translation similarly to Halliday. He sees translation as the replacement of textual material in one language, that's to say the source language, by equivalent textual material in another language, which is the target language. Julian House perceives translation as a reproduction of a text، إعادة إنتاج للنص in an SL in an equivalent text in the TL، إعادة إنتاج النص الأصلي في اللغة الهدف. Therefore, translation is undoubtedly not just a replacement of words or expressions from one language to another, but rather a communication of the meaning of source language text by means of an equivalent target language text. We keep going. We keep going with the definitions of translation. Sorry. We have another definition given by Bell in 1991. He sees translation or defines translation as the expression in another language of what has been expressed in the source one, but only by preserving the semantic and the stylistic equivalences. فقط من خلال الحفاظ على المكافئات الأسلوبية والدلالية. On the other hand, we have Larson. Larson states that translation is not merely rewriting a text in a different language. It is also reproducing the ideologies behind the language of the source text. Larson يرى أن الترجمة هي أيضا إعادة إنتاج الأيديولوجيات خلف اللغة المكتوب بها النص الأصلي. Thus, a translator should be well equipped with the knowledge of the SL and the TL structure and culture. Knowledge of the SL and TL culture is necessary because each language community will interpret a message in terms of its own culture and experience. Now we move to denotation. Denotative meaning, which is also known as cognitive, prepositional, or literal meaning, is that kind of meaning that relates directly to the range of things, whether physical, emotional, or more abstract, that are conventionally referred to by a word or phrase in a particular sense. It is also that kind of meaning which is fully supported by ordinary semantic conventions. Thus, the word window, for example, it is by convention refers to a particular kind of opening in a wall or a roof, which is a matter of denotative meaning. هي مجرد فتحة في سقف أو في حائط. The use of dictionaries to define meaning. استخدام القواميس أو المعاجم لتعريف المعنى. Dictionaries seek to define meaning, of course. However, dictionaries have their own problems. One of these is that they impose by abstraction and crystallization من خلال التجريد وبلورة المعنى crystallization, abstraction and crystallization of one or more senses, a rigidity of meaning that words do not often show in reality, and partly because once words are put into a context, their denotative meanings become more flexible. هذا يعني أن من خلال التجريد وبلورة المعنى يصبح المعنى جامد أو صلب، على عكس ما تكتسبه الكلمة في السياقات، حيث تصبح flexible مرنة أكثر. So these two reasons, the rigidity of meaning and the flexibility of words in context, make it difficult for the translator to determine the exact denotative meaning in any text, including the most soberly informative text. Intralingually, English shows some forms of semantic equivalence, including full synonym. Of course, you know what is the meaning of intralingual. Intralingual, interlingual, and intersemiotic. These are the three types of translation given by Roman Jakobson. So, for example, my mother's father and my maternal father are synonyms of one another. In every specific instance, of use, my mother's father and my maternal grandfather include and exclude exactly the same reference. However, as I said before, full synonymy is exceptional, both intralingually and interlingually. So, in his or in her attempt to find the closest equivalent to translate the denotative meaning of a source language item, the translator usually faces difficulty in finding a full target language synonym. An example which is given to illustrate the difficulty the translator may face in finding an appropriate equivalent is the English term uncle as compared to the Arabic terms khal and am. In English, the term uncle has a greater range of meanings than the Arabic terms khal and am, as uncle refers both to a father's brother and mother's brother. Now I'm going to stop here because, as I said at the beginning of this lecture, this is just an introduction, and I'm not going to make it so difficult for you because we have translating a hyponym and hypernym, and generalizing translation. Also, we have connotation, what is meant by connotation, how to identify connotation, how to translate connotative meanings. So we will continue these principles in the next lecture, inshallah. I'll wait for your questions in the classroom, and thank you for listening.